Welcome back to our channel, your premier destination for the most explosive and deeply analytical updates from the glamorous, cutthroat world of Los Angeles fashion. Today is a beautiful day to delve into the staggering drama unfolding on our favorite daytime stage, where ambition often collides with devastating tragedy. Los Angeles has been saturated with suffocating tension ever since Logan Spencer made the monumental, earth-shattering decision to defect from Forrester Creations. For years, she had operated under the oppressive, condescending shadow of Steffy Forrester Finnegan, enduring a toxic corporate environment where her beloved hope for the future line was repeatedly sidelined. Hope's departure was not merely a career shift. It was a profound declaration of independence, a desperate bid to reclaim her creative soul and establish her own legacy at the newly minted Logan fashion house. She had burned bridges, alienated her mother Brooke Logan Forrester, and effectively declared war on the very institution that had nurtured her early career. The stakes were astronomical. Hope had traded her honor, her family's peace, and her professional safety net for the promise of absolute creative control. Every ounce of her being was poured into this new venture alongside Deke Sharp, and the pressure to deliver a spectacular, flawless debut was crushing her from the inside out. To guarantee that the Logan brand's inaugural launch would eclipse anything Forrester Creations could ever hope to produce, Bill Spencer orchestrated a public relations stunt of unprecedented magnitude. He summoned his son, Wyatt Spencer, back to Los Angeles with a singular, highly dangerous mission: to acquire a flawless, near-perfect replica of the legendary Hope for the future diamond. Bill, operating with his trademark ruthless ambition, viewed the diamond not just as a piece of jewelry, but as the ultimate weapon in his corporate warfare. It was a symbol of triumph, a glittering middle finger directed straight at the Forrester family. When Wyatt successfully delivered the breathtaking stone to the Logan offices, the celebratory mood was palpable, yet was immediately undercut by a chilling, ominous shadow. Wyatt Spencer, despite his sharp business acumen and pragmatic nature, was deeply unnerved by the diamond he had procured. He delivered a dark, unsettling warning to his family, explicitly stating that the magnificent stone was cursed. The legend attached to the gem spoke of ruin, catastrophe, and the sudden, violent collapse of those who dared to claim its brilliance for their own selfish gains. Liam Spencer, typically the voice of reason, felt a cold shiver of dread creep down his spine at his brother's words. Liam could not shake the terrifying thought that intertwining his wife's fragile new beginning with a cursed artifact was a recipe for absolute disaster. However, in the intoxicating rush of impending victory, Bill and the rest of the Logan executives dismissed Wyatt's superstitious fears, blinding themselves to the catastrophic storm that was rapidly gathering over their heads. The day of the promotional photo shoot arrived, marking the absolute zero hour for the Logan brand's grand reveal. The studio was a hive of frantic, electrifying energy. Brilliant, blinding studio lights illuminated the sleek, modern set, while Deke Sharp buzzed around the racks of preliminary garments, his nervous excitement radiating through the room. Katie Logan Spencer and Bill stood by, their eyes gleaming with the anticipation of a global triumph that would bring the Forrester empire to its knees. Hope Logan Spencer stood at the center of it all, enveloped in a breathtaking gown that represented the pinnacle of her creative resurrection. Yet, something was missing. The ensemble needed a centerpiece, a focal point that would capture the world attention and scream absolute dominance. Against her better judgment, and completely ignoring the lingering echoes of Wyatt's ominous warning, Hope made a fateful, devastating decision. She requested the cursed Hope for the future diamond. As the heavy, glittering stone was fastened around her neck, a profound silence fell over the studio. The diamond captured the blinding studio lights, refracting them into a mesmerizing, kaleidoscopic display of absolute perfection. For a fleeting, intoxicating moment, Hope felt invincible. She felt the heavy burden of her defection lift, replaced by the soaring realization that she was about to conquer the fashion world on her own terms. She posed for the cameras, her chin held high, radiating a fierce, unapologetic confidence that masked the deep-seated anxieties swirling within her mind. But the universe, it seemed, had a horrifyingly different plan. The curse that Wyatt had so desperately warned them about did not manifest as a slow, creeping failure. It struck with the sudden, violent force of a lightning bolt. Without warning, a sickening metallic groan echoed through the cavernous studio. The massive, heavy-duty lighting rig suspended directly above the photography set began to sway violently. Steel cables snapped with the sharp, deafening crack of a gunshot. Time seemed to slow to an agonizing crawl as the massive structure of metal, glass, and searing hot bulbs plummeted from the ceiling, hurtling directly toward the spot where Hope stood frozen, the cursed diamond glittering mockingly against her collarbone. The impact was catastrophic. A cacophony of shattering glass, screaming bystanders, and crunching metal filled the air as the rig slammed into the studio floor. Hope was struck with devastating force, her body thrown to the ground amidst the tangled, sparking wreckage. The flawless, triumphant photo shoot was instantly transformed into a horrifying scene of carnage and chaos. The glamorous facade of the Logan brand's imminent victory was shattered in a single, brutal instant, replaced by the terrifying reality of severe physical trauma and unimaginable destruction. As if the physical devastation of the collapse was not enough, the violent impact and the sparking electrical wires immediately triggered the studio's automated fire suppression system. Torrential, unforgiving cascades of water rained down from the ceiling, flooding the set in a matter of seconds. The meticulously crafted garments, the very lifeblood of Hope and Deke Sharp's preliminary collection, were instantly soaked, stained, and utterly ruined. Months of agonizing labor, secret plotting, and brilliant creative design were washed away in a merciless deluge. The entire Logan collection, the weapon meant to destroy Forster Creations, was completely and irreparably decimated before the public even had a chance to lay eyes on it. In the immediate aftermath, Bill Spencer lost his mind. The ruthless corporate titan erupted into a state of absolute, frantic madness. He screamed at the studio technicians, his face purple with a terrifying, unbridled rage, as he watched his multi-million-dollar public relations stunt dissolve into a literal bloodbath and a watery grave for the Logan brand's future. Bill's desperate attempts to control the uncontrollable were futile. The empire he had envisioned, the absolute dominance he had promised Katie, was slipping through his fingers, washed away by the very disaster that Wyatt had eerily predicted. While Bill raged against the dying of the light, Liam Spencer was frozen in a state of paralyzing, soul-crushing terror. Watching paramedics rush to his severely injured wife, Liam's mind raced back to Wyatt's chilling words. The curse was real. It was no longer a silly superstition or a dramatic myth. It was a tangible, violent force that had just nearly killed the woman he loved. As he looked around the flooded, ruined studio, Liam felt a profound sense of doom settle heavily over his heart. He realized with terrifying clarity that this catastrophic accident was not just a random tragedy. It was a dark, undeniable omen. It was the universe signaling the imminent, unavoidable collapse of the Logan Empire they had all so painstakingly and ruthlessly built. Hours later, the chaotic noise of the studio was replaced by the sterile, agonizingly quiet atmosphere of the hospital. Hope Logan Spencer lay in a stark white bed, her body bruised, battered, and hooked up to a myriad of medical monitors. The physical pain was immense, but it paled in comparison to the agonizing psychological torture she endured. She stared blankly at the ceiling, the rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor serving as a cruel reminder of the fragile, shattered reality she now inhabited. In the quiet solitude of her hospital room, Hope was consumed by a suffocating wave of despair and profound regret. She had sacrificed everything for this launch. She had lied to her mother, Brooke, manipulating her trust and allowing her to make a fool of herself in front of Ridge and Steffy. She had betrayed the Forrester family, walking away from the legacy that had defined her early life. She had traded her honor, her integrity, and her familial bonds for the promise of this collection. And now it was all gone. The designs were destroyed, the launch was indefinitely postponed, and her grand, triumphant rebellion had ended in a humiliating, devastating tragedy. She worried not only for her physical recovery, but for the shattered remnants of her professional future. The curse of the diamond had stripped her of everything, leaving her broken and profoundly alone in her ambition. The ripple effects of the studio disaster quickly spread far beyond the confines of the hospital walls. For Katie and Bill, the incident was a catastrophic public relations nightmare. The media, which had been primed to celebrate the Logan brand's explosive new line, would now feast upon the gruesome details of the accident and the total destruction of the collection. The momentum they had so aggressively built was completely derailed, leaving the Logan brand vulnerable, bleeding, and desperately scrambling to salvage whatever scraps of credibility remained. The war they had waged against Forrester Creations had suddenly hit a massive, potentially fatal roadblock. Across town, within the luxurious, powerful walls of the Forrester Creations executive suite, news of the catastrophic accident quickly reached Steffy Forrester Finnegan. While she publicly maintained a facade of appropriate corporate concern, internally, Steffy was experiencing a rush of dark, undeniable triumph. She had spent weeks seething over Hope's arrogant defection, launching a relentless investigation to uncover the truth behind Hope's sudden disappearance. Now, learning that her rival's grand, secretive launch had literally collapsed in ruins, Steffy could not help but secretly gloat. In Steffy's mind, this horrific accident was nothing short of poetic justice. It was the ultimate, undeniable karma for Hope's deceit, for her betrayal of the Forrester legacy, and for Brooke's relentless, delusional power grabs. Steffy viewed the destruction of the Logan collection not as a tragedy, but as a divine intervention that validated every single one of her harsh leadership decisions. She had warned everyone that Hope's sense of entitlement would lead to ruin, and now, the universe had spectacularly proven her right. As she looked out over the Los Angeles skyline from her CEO office, Steffy felt a profound sense of vindication. The threat of the Logan brand had been neutralized, not by her own hand, but by the very ambition and cursed arrogance that had fueled Hope's rebellion in the first place. The devastating events at the Logan studio serve as a brutal, chilling reminder of the phenomenal costs associated with the Los Angeles fashion wars. Ambition, when unchecked and fueled by revenge, often blinds individuals to the very real dangers lurking in the shadows. Hope Logan Spencer gambled her honor, her family, and ultimately her physical safety on a cursed symbol of dominance, and she lost everything in a single, shattering moment. As she lies in her hospital bed, facing a long, agonizing road to recovery and the monumental task of rebuilding a ruined collection, the balance of power has violently shifted once again. The curse of the hope for the future diamond has claimed its victim, leaving a trail of shattered dreams, flooded ambitions, and a secretly triumphant Forrester queen in its wake. The war is far from over, but this battle has ended in